Hello, everyone. Welcome back to World Civilizations. So, today, World War II is really going to start heating up. Please title your notes for today The Battle of Britain. So, when we last spoke, we talked about the defeat of the French during the Battle of France, and now you're going to see that Hitler is going to be looking to complete his puzzle and finally defeat almost all of Europe by taking out the United Kingdom. So, in terms of what the Battle of Britain is going to look like, after France falls, you're going to see that the British are going to patiently be waiting for the attacks to begin against them. You can see a spotter over here on the left, basically people watching the skies for the arrival of the Germans and the Luftwaffe in their bid to take over the island. So now don't forget, historically, in terms of defeating Great Britain, how effective have other ambitious conquerors been? They have not been successful at all. The British have never fallen to an attack by land. So Hitler's going to reason the only way to attack is going to be by skies. And these types of battles, fights, are called dog fights, ones that take place in the air. So it's basically going to be Hitler's Luftwaffe against what's called the RAF, or the Royal Air Force. Of course, the British do have an advantage here throughout the battle because they do have home field advantage. They're fighting over their own country and they have better radars. Why are these two things so important? Because again, if you're fighting in the skies, you're going to need access to fuel and you're going to need access to landing sites so that you can actually land your planes. Likewise, the British radar system is far superior. Radars are very much new on the scene for warfare, so they're going to be absolutely essential for detecting enemies as they're approaching you and really knowing how big of a military force the planes are actually going to be once they arrive. And you can see in this picture here, these are women working at a radar station, basically tracking the skies to report to the British military and Air Force when Hitler and the Germans arrive. So Hitler names his attack on Great Britain Operation Sea Lion. So most of the battle has historically been referred to as the Blitz. This is the period where Germany is very, very quickly and rapidly bombing cities in Great Britain, most notably London. So if you've ever seen like a movie or television show about World War II and it's taking place like in London or one of the notable British cities, it's probably taking place during the Blitz. So what's Hitler's strategy here? It's really to very, very quickly bomb cities that are heavily populated, really cause a lot of casualties and a lot of deaths very quickly, and zap the British morale to keep fighting. You can kind of think of this as a similar thing to attrition warfare, but at the same time, kind of the complete opposite. So you're trying to zap someone's will to fight by killing a lot of people. In this case, though, it's being done very, very quickly, whereas in World War I, with attrition warfare, it's being done very slowly. So, more than 40,000 British citizens are going to be killed during the Blitz, mostly through falling rubble and bomb explosions. At the time, many children are moved into the countryside. If you've ever seen the Disney film Bedknobs and Broomsticks, the children who are really the focal point of that movie are being relocated during the Blitz for that reason. So it's important to understand that at the same time as the Blitz, Great Britain is also conducting air raids against Berlin and Germany. So there are a lot of casualties on both sides. Obviously, there are dogfights taking place over both countries. Just to show you a few pictures, this is what London is going to look like during the Blitz. Just absolute devastation and carnage. So when you're thinking about like how does the United States become the preeminent superpower of the world? How does their economy do so well? They're not going to be attacked like this during World War II, and most of the major nations of Europe are. So in terms of rebuilding and financing the rebuilding, the United States is going to make so much money off of this. Meanwhile, these nations are financially devastated. Again, just to show you, I mean, imagine people's lives being turned upside down as, you're anxiously waiting for bombs to fall, and they could legitimately fall anywhere. Here's a picture of a mass hole in the middle of a street in London. And here you're seeing a bus obviously being pulled into a massive hole caused by a bomb explosion. Oftentimes, photographers would try to create a juxtaposition to showcase innocence, children, amid destruction and carnage. And you can see that in this picture here. These children are sitting in front of the rubble of their former home, completely destroyed by bomb explosions. And here you're seeing a family carrying their few remaining possessions after their house has been destroyed during the Blitz. So this is really interesting. This is actually from a memoir of someone who was a child during the Blitz. They write, "We got to Knapp Road, up by the gasworks there, and we saw this bomb lying in the gutter. Whether it had been defused or not, I did not know. Anyway, I didn't hang about, so we started rolling the bomb away. Don't ask me what we were going to do with it, I couldn't tell you. We got about 100 yards when a terrible voice rang out, 'Leave that blank bomb alone,' and he chased us down the road, but we almost had it away with that bomb." So just to showcase that people are kind of going on with their lives, kids are still outside, they're still playing, even though it's essentially a war zone completely filled with destruction. Again, to kind of draw a common parallel to a modern day example, think of the coronavirus pandemic in 2020, where you had people walking outside, kind of carrying on with your lives. Meanwhile, there's this national crisis going on. You can kind of see a similar dynamic really here during the Blitz. So again, just showcasing what life is really like during this time, you're seeing a British family watching British soldiers inspect a German plane that has crashed outside of their farm. You're seeing a milkman continue to make his runs, even though the actual houses and street have been left completely destroyed and ruined, trying to carry on with their lives. In a way, in many of these pictures, you're seeing the mentality of the British being further echoed from that speech from Winston Churchill, "We shall fight on the beaches. We're never going to surrender. We're going to fight until the very bitter end." And you can really see that shown in a lot of these pictures. Here you're seeing two schoolgirls reading on a plane that has been shot out of the sky. You can see with a swastika on the back tail. So why is all of this important? You're going to see that this really becomes the first major turning point of World War II. Hitler has been successful every step of the way so far, but he's not able to zap the will of the British. He's not able to defeat the Royal Air Force. If anything, the Germans are actually outmatched in terms of the capability of the British Air Force. The Germans lose 1,700 planes, while the British lose 900. Still a lot, but considering that they're the ones defending their homeland, it's really a British victory. So Hitler has no choice but basically to hold his advances on Great Britain and pause. The first time that he's really going to balk during World War II. You might be thinking, so what does he do next? He does something odd. He turns his attention toward the Soviet Union, a nation that he actually has a peace agreement with, the Non Aggression Pact, promising neutrality for 10 years. In our next lesson, we'll talk about why that is, and you'll see why his planned invasion of the Soviet Union, like so many other conquerors, so many other historical figures before him, really becomes one of the main reasons for his undoing.